Hi, welcome to Stay Fit with Joy. Today we're going to do a workout that's going to incorporate a household piece of equipment to get our exercise in today. So it's a little bit interesting. We're going to be using an ottoman. So if you have an ottoman, get your ottoman ready and we're going to do some exercises that will incorporate this piece of furniture. If you do not have an ottoman, don't worry about it. I will show you how to do all of the exercises on the floor so that you can still get a great workout in with this video. So what we're going to do is we are going to superset two different exercises. The first four exercises are going to incorporate a lower body exercise while we stabilize the upper body, and then the second exercise will be an upper body exercise that will stabilize the lower body while we work the upper. So we'll get a nice lower body, upper body balance in, and that'll be for 4 different supersets. After that, we're going to move into our core focus, and we're going to have some exercises supersetting that are going to engage the core, either from the front or from the back. So we will focus first on our upper lower body strength, and then we will move into our core focus. 30 seconds each for each exercise. We'll go back to back. There'll be a 5-second transition in order to get into position for that second exercise. What I will do is preview the first 2 exercises, and then we will implement those 2 exercises, and then we'll move on to the next 2 exercises, and I will preview those first. So as I'm previewing, you can kind of take a little bit of a break, but watch me, make sure you know exactly what 2 exercises you need to do, and we will do each of those supersets 2 times, so you'll get that exercise in twice. The first 2 exercises that we're going to do is we are going to have a seat on our ottoman, and that is where we're going to start. We're going to take our arms up and in position out here, and it's going to be just a stand up and sit down. So we're going to stand up and sit back to that ottoman. If you would like to make this more intense, lift to your toes as you come up. And if you want to make it even more intense, take a little jump as you come up, and that will require a little bit more energy. If you need to detensify it, just do the stand up, sit down. You can also take away the arms. So no arms will also make that move a little less intense. If you don't have that ottoman, you will just be sitting and standing without actually sitting on anything, okay? Your second exercise that you're going to do is to come into an elevated plank position on your forearms. And from this position, we're going to move the arms. Extend one arm out, extend the other, alternating your body weight from one side to the other as you engage that core and stabilize the lower body. If you do not have that ottoman, you will just take it onto the floor, right here in a plank position, and do the same thing. Exercises. Get yourself into your seat and get ready. You're going to start to hear that countdown for 3, 2, 1. That's going to be the start of our exercise. So first thing you want to do is get those arms up and out and get ready to stand up and sit down, either standing up, sitting down, coming to your toes, or hopping. 30 seconds right here. All the way into that seat and back up. Use the arms for more intensity. Again, if you need to make less intensity, lift up onto those toes, or just stand up and sit down without coming to those toes. Take it where you feel comfortable going. Good. Now you've got 5 seconds to transition onto your forearms on the floor or using that ottoman. And now into our 30 seconds, alternating reaches from that plank position. Make sure you're engaging that core. Staying strong through your upper body, stabilizing your lower body, and breathing as you do this. Make sure that you've got some breath. Finishing up, you got 5 seconds to transition back into that seat. Arms up, getting set to stand up and sit down. Come to those toes, or jump up as you come up to make it more intense. So again, pick the move that feels most comfortable for you and move through it. Five seconds to transition into your second move. On those forearms, alternate those reaches forward. And first two, I'm going to move on to our next two exercises. And for this one, I'm going to rotate my ottoman because I have a rectangular ottoman and I want to have the more narrow side that I am facing. So for this exercise, we are going to take our hands on the ottoman, either in the center, or you can hold on to the side if you have a more narrow one. And we're going to place our feet to one side of the ottoman, and from here, we're going to bring them over to the other. So we're going to get a little bit of a lift and move, trying to kick our bottom as we bring it up and over to the other side. So you can kind of be behind. That's fine. You don't have to be up and over. You can just kind of take it side to side as you stabilize the upper body. Now, if the hopping is too much, just take a little bit of a leap side to side until you feel more comfortable with taking a little bit more of that hop with both feet up and over. And you'll get a little bit of core here as well as those lower body having to shift side to side. Second exercise, we're going to sit, place our hands on the ottoman and let our hips come down to the front of that ottoman, and then we're going to go for dips. So we're working through the back of those arms. So you're going to stabilize here, bend and extend. So if you don't have that ottoman, I'm going to show you how to do those two exercises on the floor. So you'll take your hands on the floor, you'll take your feet to one side of the body, and then you'll bring them over to the other. Seeing if you can kick that bottom as you rotate. Now if that's too much, one foot at a time. If you have a mat, you can try to focus on bringing your feet from one side of the mat over to the other side of the mat, so you kind of have that range of where you want to go. And then for the dips, you'll just come up into a tabletop and bend and extend from here. Okay, so that's how you'll do it on the floor. Okay, getting set for those two exercises, take your hands on your ottoman and take your feet to one side of your body and get ready to either step to the other side or hop, trying to kick those heels into your bottom as you move side to side, right here, up and over. So one side to the other. If you're on the floor, stepping both feet to one side, stepping your feet over to the other side. You want to kind of move one side to the other side right here. Stabilize your upper body and breathe. You'll kind of get that intensity up here. And once again, if you need to take it down, just a big step or a leap from one side to the other until you're more comfortable getting both of those legs up. 5 seconds to transition, sitting, hands on the ottoman, over here, bend and extend. Good, keeping that body nice and strong, that back close to that ottoman. Bend and extend through those elbows, really pushing through the back of those arms. 5 seconds to transition. Back, hands on the ottoman or on that floor. Both feet to one side, bringing it up and over to the other. Again, trying to kick that bottom as you come up and over, making it a little bit more intense, making those hamstrings work a little bit stronger to bring those heels into your bottom. And if you're leaping, same thing. Kick your bottom 1 foot at a time. Both if you can, to make it more intense. And 5 seconds to transition, seated. Butt comes off, bend and extend, working the back of those arms, upper body strength focus. Nice and strong, pressing through the palms, extending through the triceps to extend those elbows all the way up. Make sure you're keeping that back close to that ottoman. Don't go too far away. You want to keep it in the back of those arms where you're focusing on and working. All right, our next two exercises, we are going to use that ottoman, placing the upper back on that ottoman. So the first thing you want to do is sit on the floor and get your back right onto that ottoman from here. Press up until you're kind of in this position here where your upper back is lifted and on that ottoman. So from here, you're going to drop your hips down and then squeeze and lift up. Now, if you want to make this move a little bit more challenging, take one leg up. So for the first set, you would have the right leg up, so you're pressing up through that left side. And on the second set, you would keep that left knee up and then push up and down through that side, okay? And then for our second exercise, we're going to do plank ups. So So from here, we're coming onto the forearms, and you're gonna press yourself up and down. On the first set, your right's gonna be the lead to come up and down, and on your second set, it's gonna be your left. So you're coming up from your forearms onto your hands, using those biceps, those triceps, and that chest. And if you do not have that Ottoman, just take it on the floor for the first exercise. You'll just be in all the way onto your back, and when you lift, you'll lift your hips up and squeeze your glutes into this bridge position. And then if you want to make it more challenging, one leg at a time, same thing here, okay? And then when you go into those plank ups, you will be here starting on the forearms and then coming up and down. Now on the floor, it's a little bit harder because you're not elevated. So if you need to do this on your knees, just drop into your knees. It will make that move a little bit easier, okay? All right, let's get that clock started and get ready for that next move. All right, so getting ready to set our position. Make sure your upper back is on that Ottoman. Your feet are flat, knees are bent. You're in position, cross your hands here, and then you're gonna lower those hips down, squeeze the glutes up. And if you wanna make it more challenging, we're gonna have that right knee held up as we focus on just that left leg, bringing us up and down. So that will make it more challenging, but at any point, if you need to drop that foot and work through both feet on the floor, do it. Definitely gonna make this move a little more challenging. You're gonna feel that left leg having to have some strength there. Five seconds to bring it onto those forearms, and then we're focusing on coming up onto the hands, down on the forearms with the right lead first. So what that means is you come up with the right hand, the left hand follows, and then you come down on the forearms with the right first, and the left follows. So during this 30-second set, we're focusing on the right being that lead. Every time pressing up and coming down. Five seconds to get into position. Right here, down and up. Now if you focused on that left leg, now you want to have the right leg lifting and lowering, left knee and foot just kind of off of the ground as that right leg does that work. So make sure you work both sides if you're doing single legs. Second set, you got to bring it to that other side. Let that opposite leg do the work. And rotating over, 5 seconds. You have to bring it into position. Now we're focusing on the left lead. Left comes up on the hands first, the right follows. The left comes down on the forearms first, the right follows. Up, up, down and down. Keeping that lower body stable and in position as the upper body does that work. Pressing up from the hands, lowering to the forearms. And now our last two exercises for our lower body and upper body focus, I'm going to preview. So take a little moment, and while you do that, watch me. So we're going to keep it on the forearms for this one, and we're going to open and close. So it's a plank jack from the forearm position. Now if this is too much, one leg at a time will make it easier, okay, instead of coming out and in at the same time. And then we're going to drop here, lift so our hips are on that Ottoman, our feet are on the floor, and our arms are going to reach out and in front of us. From here, pulling back, reaching forward with a nice retraction through those shoulder blades the entire time that you do this. You want to really feel those shoulder blades retracting up and squeeze those elbows down and reach forward for that movement. Now again, if you do not have that Ottoman, no big deal. You can do all this from the floor on your forearms for those plank jacks, one at a time if you need to. And if that's too much, you can be on your knees, out and in, one at a time, or out, in, take a little rest onto those knees, okay? You can also bring it up on your hands if you want it to be up a little bit higher for that move because you're on the ground. And then for our next move, you're just gonna lower all the way down to your belly. From here, you'll keep your legs on the floor, but lift your body up, retract those shoulder blades, elbows squeeze back, and you'll reach forward and pull back. So same focus, just using that floor instead of that up. Okay, getting set for those plank jacks, our first move. Come up onto those forearms or on your hands or forearms if you're on the floor, and get ready to take those legs out and in together, or one at a time, 30 seconds. Engage that core and work those legs coming out and in. Make sure you stabilize that upper body. Make sure you're not allowing those hips to sink down or to pop up. You don't want to be here or here. You want to really keep those hips in a solid, steady position by engaging that core one at a time if you feel like you're coming out of that position if you're doing two legs. All right, second move, you got 5 seconds. You want the hips on there, but the feet to stay on the floor. Squeeze and bring the elbows in towards your body. Reach forward. So you want to really retract those shoulder blades up. Feel that nice activation in that back as you move through this. And make sure you're breathing as you reach forward and squeeze back. Good. And getting set back to those plank jacks. Nice strong center, nice strong plank position. Taking those legs out and in together, or once again, one at a time, totally fine. Take it where you need to go. If you need a rest, take a rest and come back to it if there's any time left on that clock before our second move. Good, 5 seconds to get into position, hips on, feet on the floor, reach forward, squeeze and pull back, retract the shoulder blades, and movement from here. Reach and pull. Stay steady through the lower body. As the upper body does that work, make sure you're looking straight down at the floor, not tucking the chin in or looking up. And complete. So that is it for our lower body, upper body focus. We're going to move on to our core focus. You should at this point feel taps through the lower body and upper body. You should feel like you got a little bit of a strength workout. Not only that, you're going to feel that heart rate and intensity have come up because we had very little rest and we had some higher impact moves. If you were working through those higher impact moves, then you're feeling that intensity of that cardio kind of come up as well. So we're going to lie down on that ottoman and get our legs up. From here, you're going to flex your feet and just lower to where you feel controlled without the back arching, and then bring those knees in towards the chest. Okay, make sure you make that move as big as you can control without arching. Second move, we're going to kind of take our knees here, hold that ottoman on the other side, flex those feet, keeping the knees bent. You're going to lift those knees off of the ground. So you're going to feel that in the glutes and the lower back doing some work here. Okay, so we're going to get it from the front, we're going to get it from the back. If you do not have, you're going to do this on the floor by taking your arms at your side, flexing your feet, bringing the knees in, tapping the heels to the floor, lower down, placing the hands on the floor and the forehead on top of that, bending and flexing those feet, and from here lift as much of those quads off of the ground as you can. So that'll be a smaller move if you're on the floor, but still effective. All right, so setting that position for our first exercise, holding on to the back of that ottoman, so you have a little bit of a hold. Flex your feet, knees bent 90 degrees, and from here, lower and lift. Once again, lowering only where you can control without arching that back. So you want to really engage that core for this movement. Make sure you're breathing and not holding that breath as you do that. Five seconds to transition. Right here, holding on, bracing and lifting. Tapping those knees down and lifting up. Squeeze those glutes as you lift up. You're using the lower back to really get those knees up and off of the ground. And rotating back over. Back to that first move from the front. Once again, engage that core and find your breath. Make sure you're breathing through this move. Transitioning. Brace yourself, flex those feet, and lift. Squeeze those glutes to the top of that move. Complete. The next two exercises, we're going to focus on movement of the upper part of those abs. So we're going to lower down. We're going to kind of sit almost a little bit center or wherever you can drop to where your shoulders are slightly hanging off. And then you're going to bring your feet up and take your fingertips behind your ears. From here, you're going to lower those shoulders down just a little bit, lower than that Ottoman, and come back up. So a little bit of a crunch here. But because you have nowhere for those abs to rest, or that head to rest, the abs are going to be focused and a little bit stronger to get through that movement. Then we're going to immediately rotate so we can hit almost the same move from the back. Hips are going to be on, toes are going to be off. You're going to take your hands on your forehead, lower down, and lift up. Don't bring the head up like this. Make sure you're looking straight down the entire time. And it's just a small move, focusing on that back to lift you up. Okay, and once again, if you do not have that Ottoman, you will just be doing the same thing on the floor, lifting for a crunch, and then lower, extend the legs, hands together, and lift the hands up and off of that floor. So same two moves, doing it on the floor. Bring those feet up, flex them, 90 degrees bent, shoulders slightly hanging off, fingertips behind the ears, chin off that chest. And from here, lowering those shoulders down slightly below the Ottoman and back up. Make sure you're breathing through every movement and make sure you're not pulling at the head or the neck. You want to really focus on this movement coming from your upper abs to get those shoulders lifted and slightly below that Ottoman as you come down. Good, now over here you want to just lie your hips on, hands rest on the Ottoman, or they could be hanging off depending on that Ottoman, and lift your back up from here. Make sure your feet and toes are stable on the floor for this move. And your hips are just gently on it, and you should be able to use that lower back strength in order to lift, and the upper back strength as well, to lift those hands up and off of that Ottoman. Rotate back over, hang those shoulders off, knees up, and once again, second move, back to the first one, second set. Just drop those shoulders down slightly and lift. Really feel where that movement is coming from. Make sure you're breathing and not holding that breath. Think strength through that center. And up. Good. Just getting those hips on, keeping those toes grounded, and lift. Stack those hands, and when those hands come off the ground, the forehead is staying attached to those hands. Lifting through the upper part of that back. That upper part of the body is what's moving and coming up and off of that Ottoman. So that entire back, from the lower back to the upper back, is working to make this move happen. And okay, so our next two moves, we're going to start in a seated position with the legs kind of widely spaced out. And from this position, we're going to kind of lean back so that we're coming somewhat on our tailbone, and at the same time bringing our feet together. Our hands are just going to kind of stay in prayer position so that they're focused on just stabilizing while that lower body does the movement. So we're going to lean back and bring the feet together into this kind of bow pose, and then bring the feet back down all the way back up to that seated position. So you're kind of working through the lower part of that core in order to make this happen. And then for our second move, we're going to hold it here, and we're going to twist, kind of called the Russian twist, right here, okay? And if for some reason you cannot hold up in this position, you can remain seated and do your twist from here, okay? And if you do not have that Ottoman on the floor, you're going to sit with the feet somewhat wide, lean back, bring the feet together, and back down, and then your second move here, or with the heels down on the floor, or sitting up nice and tall. Okay, getting ready for those two moves. You want those feet to be wide, you want those hands to be in prayer, and we're focusing on leaning back and bringing the feet together at the same time. So good posture, no shoulders rounded. Up and together, and back down. So you want to almost balance on that tailbone a moment, and then bring it back to position. You got to really engage that core here, stabilize as you lift, balance, bring it back in. The more core strength you have, the more stable you'll look as you do this move. That just comes with practice. So the stronger that you get, the more practice that you have with these moves, the better you'll get at them. So don't be concerned if you're not completely steady or stable. Good, now we want to get into position to where we're holding, or you're seated, and start to move through the upper body with that twist. Once again, if this winds up being too much at any point, just bring those feet down and continue your twist here. You'll still get that movement, okay? Here if you can. So you're stabilizing the lower body, and you are moving and twisting through the upper part. Come back to seated with the feet wide. Get set to bring those legs back up and together. Right here, balance, hold a moment, and back down. You're gonna start to feel those lower abs actually get a little bit of fatigue in them from this move. You'll also feel the inner and the outer thighs, because you got to use those inner thighs and those outer thighs to bring the feet together and to separate them when you come back down. So you will feel a little strength in those legs at the same time that you're focusing on those lower abs for this one. Good, now getting into position, either staying here for your twist or holding on that tailbone and twist, 30 seconds. Make sure you're not rounding those shoulders. Make sure you're still keeping an open chest and a nice active back. If you need to place those feet down, you can't hold this position anymore, just bring it here and finish up right there. And here, if you want to come back to it at any point after a moment, you can as well. And done. Okay, so for our final two exercises, we're going to lie down for our first one on our back. Make sure somewhat of your head is rested, as well as your bottom. And then you're going to bring those legs in, and you're going to hug them. This is where your starting position is going to be. Tuck your chin into your chest, hug your knees in, and then from here, you're going to extend your arms out as if you were making an X. You can let your head rest if you'd like to, or you can hold it up, and then hug your knees back in, tuck your chin in, and then back to that X position, and hug. So right here, you're going to look like an X out here. Core is engaged, tightening to keep you in this position, and then hug it in, also core working to be in this position as well. And then for our second exercise, we are going to come on all fours so that you look like this. So the knees are going to be on, the hands are going to be on. It's going to feel a little unstable because the Ottoman is a little squishy. It's not a solid surface, so it's going to make this more challenging. You're going to take your right arm out and your left leg out, opposite arm, opposite leg. Bring it back and do the other side. So every time coming back and then switching. Make sure you balance and hold for a moment and then return it back. And if you don't have that Ottoman, same thing on the floor. Start by hugging those knees in, tucking that chin in, and then you'll make an X, kind of hover over that floor and hug it back in. And then for that next move, on all fours, you won't have that unsteady surface, but you'll still get that work. Alternating opposite arm, opposite leg extension. Make sure you balance and hold a moment, okay? Okay, setting that first exercise. Hug those knees in by holding underneath the knees, tuck the chin in. Everything's hugged in, everything's contracted, and then open into that X and hug it back in. Open into that X and hug everything back in. Feeling that movement, core staying engaged as you open and you close. Make sure you're breathing once again through this movement. You've got nowhere for those arms and legs to rest when they come out. You don't have a floor to collapse onto, so the core really needs to stay engaged. Bring it up. You got 5 seconds to rotate. All fours, unsteady surface if you're on that Ottoman, opposite arm leg extension. Bring it back, take it to the other side. Bring it back, take it to the other side. Good. Hold for a moment. Get that extension. And then return it back. Take it to the other side. Rotate back over. Hug everything in. Tuck that chin in. And into that X. Hug it back in. Out into that X. Hug it back in. Good. Close everything up when you come in. Open everything up nice and wide and reach out and away from that body. And one more time, rotate over as quick as you can in position. Opposite arm and leg extension, hold a moment. Back in and to the other side. Make sure you're breathing, especially as you hold. Keep that core engaged and strong. And done. So you're done with that Ottoman workout. Great job. And again, if you didn't have that Ottoman, of course, I gave you those options to do everything on the floor. So whether you have that Ottoman or you don't, you can still get a great workout in with this video. Now you can repeat it and do it again. So you get another 2 sets of everything in. If you feel like you want to do a little bit more work and work that strength, tax those muscles a little bit more, make it more intense, and then you'll get over a half an hour workout. Once again, make sure that you see and visit all of my other videos. I've got other workouts for you at my YouTube channel, so make sure you visit Stay Fit with Joy on YouTube, on Instagram, on Facebook, and of course stayfitwithjoy.com, where you can get lots of different information, recipes, blog posts, things that I write. Take a look and check it out.